Hello students, I am Dr. L.K. Das, Assistant Professor of Sociology at the Department of HSS, IIT Roorkee. Welcome to the final lecture of our NPTEL course, Power and Politics in Contemporary India, a Sociological View. The reason you see that I am smiling is because this happens to be the last lecture of this course, the 60th lecture. I am both happy that we have come to the end, and with me you have continued this journey of understanding what is political sociology, understanding why it is important for us to understand political sociology, and can political sociology or a politically uh, misunderstood, a politically better understood sociology is able to provide us with tools that can help us in understanding our day-to-day lives, in understanding the very meaning of political processes, the very meaning of social processes, and how everything that is happening around us can be deconstructed. So that makes me smile because I'm not sure whether I have been able to at least make you feel a little secure about how do we understand political sociology. When we started off this course, we started off with the great founding fathers of sociology, as well as political science and something in between, with Marx, Weber, Durkheim, the Bourdieu, the Gramsci, the so on and so forth. We also discussed about modernity. We discussed how modernity can it be considered as a crisis or can it be considered as thriving? What are the internal tensions? What are the liminal transitions? What are the insecurities, confusions, and ambivalence that determine our lives, that determine modernity? So, political sociology must adapt to analyze overlapping concern as well as uncertainties and transitional social configurations meaningfully. In a way, we try to decompose and recompose modernity. We try to look at it in the form of ambiguities of the heteronormativities, ambiguities of social formations, ambiguities of how different schools of thought, how different scholars look at the idea of justice, look at the idea of morality, look at the idea of institutions and what are boundaries. At the same time, can hypermodernity be used as a way to understand modernity, or hypermodernity is a way or is the first step to deconstruct modernity itself? We also looked at the cultural turn in modernity, in which we see that significant locations, significant places reconstitute modernity's universalism. And when we relook at the universalisms of modernity, we look at what are identities. Can identities be transnational, or identities are necessarily local? These are very prominent and significant questions for political sociologists, because that determines what is your social agency, what is your consciousness, and what are your lived experiences. So the moment we say it can be transnational, then what forms it can take? Or if you say it is local, then what forms it is going to take? So culture mediated by globalization produces complexities, and these complexities are now rooted in existential terms, like some scholars would argue. What existentialism, when it is mediated through the phenomenology, does is that it looks at the same questions of inequality, governance, identity, and political membership, but at the same time it seeks interpretive exploration of everyday meaning, affect, and experiences. Political sociology, the way it started, it never cared about this point at all. It never cared about experience. Like in the last lecture, when I was talking about Gopal Guru and Sundar Sarukai's work, we spoke about how experience makes a crucial departure in our understanding of political sociology. Because the moment we bring in experience, our experiences differ, but at the same time, we have similar experiences. And only by understanding experiences, we can understand the way Marx said class in itself to class for itself. Because what is experience in general terms, that is consciousness or collective consciousness or reason and rationality at a broader meta level. Nationalism again is the nationalism and subnationalism are again about ambivalent ideologies, about enabling exclusion, hierarchy, and violence. So, nationalism, when it is only about one idea of a nation, that means it is subversing other ideas of nationalisms. So, in political sociology, what we also discussed and what political sociology aspires to do is to bring in different ideas of a nation, different ideas of nationalism, including the ones who do not believe in nationalism, do not believe in one singular variety of nationalism. This does not say that they are being anarchists. Rather, they want a place under the sun and not to be overshadowed by one dominant idea of nationalism. So, imagined communities could be imagined differently. So, Anderson's idea of imagined community of only one nation or one dominant nationalism, it does not always work, primarily because national imagery is rooted within experiences. Like we had discussed when we discussed the entire week on nationalism, and specifically I had discussed about the nationalism without a nation in India, the book by GLOCS. How different nations are there within the Indian idea of nationalism, or within Indian nation and within Indians dominant idea of nationalism. So, in a way, what we see is that a dominant idea of nationalism weaponizes symbolic performance to assert exclusive identities forcefully. And as Sanjeev Barua highlights as well as warns us, the moment we have weaponization of a symbolic performance of nationalism, then subnationalisms are going to fight back. And when they fight back, things take violent turns. So, civil society and apolitical politics makes this a little bit interesting, because what it does is that it exposes power of the powerless by disrupting performative legitimacy structures. Who is legitimizing certain forms of civil society? Who is legitimizing certain forms of apolitical politics? Because legitimation, as we discussed in the case of Max Weber, is what creates nation states and gives it this immense power of monopoly over violence, or authorizes it to do whatever it wants to do because it is considered to be legitimate. Civil society, on the other hand, has different colors when it mixes with different societies, different communities, and different groups of people. So, there cannot be only one idea of civil society that comes from Central Europe or that comes from Western Europe. Rather, different areas, different societies have different notions of civil society. And our idea within political sociology, the way we understand it, or the way we have tried to understand it in this course, is to understand civil society as pluriversal, not universal. So the pluriversal essentially means that we cannot have only one idea of civil society which is dominant over every other ideas, because multiple ideas, multiple practices, multiple processes can live together, and that is the beauty of democracy. So public sphere, through an engagement of democratic communication, whether it is through contemporary ICTs or through some other means, and in the early period through print capitalism, make space for different kind of dominant, non-dominant as well as critical discourses, because only through that a public sphere becomes lively and democratic. The moment it is not lively or democratic, that means it is not exactly a public sphere. It is a manufactured public sphere, as we had discussed previously with different scholars. So manufacturing, and in this course what I've tried to do with numerous examples is to see and identify for ourselves how this is being manufactured, what are the processes being used for the manufacturing of these processes. So in a way, rethinking political sociology for a complex age means holistic analysis integrating macro transformations with lived micro states of being. So, in a way, let us ask ourselves this one last question: how do cultural, global, and complexity terms reshape classical political sociology? And when I say this last question, what I meant was this is the last question in this course so that you can ask more questions in your future. So there are a few references which I have brought together from whatever we have discussed in this entire course, in this journey of almost 3 months. And I wish you all the best for your lives, and I wish you all the best that you go on to understand society, to learn more about our society, to learn more about political sociology, to read some of these works, the original works for yourself, and take a call. How do we read political sociology? How do we read society? How do we read politics for ourselves and for others? Thank you.